modern gaming sucks. See, maybe I'm just cursed, because I grew up playing games during a time when games were being revolutionized on an almost yearly basis. Just take a look at 2001, Grand Theft Auto 3 launched, redefining the open world template, the same template that is still being used to this day in most titles. Metal Gear Solid 2 also came out during that same year, a huge step up in graphical fidelity, AI interactions, frame rate, resolution and sound quality. Gran Turismo 3 with all its advancements in the racing genre and many others. Fast forward then to 2002, we got the original Splinter Cell, a revolution in stealth gameplay employing the use of dynamic light sources as a gameplay mechanic, made possible thanks to the more powerful hardware. In 2004, GTA San Andreas, and we all know what that game brought to the table, and I could keep going on, but I'm sure you get the point. It's pretty effortless to name titles when discussing gameplay revolutions within the 6th generation. Ah yes, the 6th generation, otherwise known as the golden age of gaming. This time period is home to the best of all the key franchises still to this day. It has the best Gran Turismo games, it has the best Splinter Cells, the best Grand Theft Auto games and so much more. This was also the period where licensed games were actually pretty damn good. James Bond 007 Nightfire, The Simpsons Hit and Run, The Lord of the Rings The Two Towers, just to name a few. In addition to the 6th gen housing some of the best gameplay ever seen, it was also common for games to feature some form of split screen or system link multiplayer, a feature seldom seen these days. What I also liked about this period of gaming was the amount of variety. This was the era when 3D gameplay was mastered and publishers were throwing money at almost any concept. This in turn created tons of games that weren't huge sellers but developed their own cult followings. These days you simply do not see this level of experimentation because the risk is too high. Or so we're told anyway. With that said, if you are thinking of checking out said gaming golden age, you're probably wondering how best to go about that. If you had to pick just one console, the original Xbox is hands down the best option for many different reasons. The Xbox One is by far the most powerful console of that generation, and in turn, multi-platform games pretty much always have more stable or even superior frame rates when running on the Xbox, and also tend to have the most advanced graphics too. Sometimes the power differential with the Xbox results in games that are borderline remasters like Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. When compared to the PS2, the OG Xbox version almost looks like an entirely different game. While some multiplats are borderline remasters, in some cases games quite literally are remasters, such as the case of GTA 3 and Vice City. The Xbox port had many changes such as real-time reflections added to cars, which looks amazing, water drops on the camera which react to the direction the car is turning, even to small things such as car wheel and engine block textures being replaced with full 3D models. The Xbox port of both of these titles are by far the definitive versions, even better than the PC port which was based off the PS2 version. Another feather in the OG Xbox's cap is its built-in hard drive, which these days we take for granted, but back in 2001 it was a pretty big deal. This feature is great when it comes time to save your game, as on other consoles at the time you only had memory cards with paltry sizes such as 8 megabytes, whereas on the original Xbox and its built-in 8 gigabyte hard drive, size is not a problem. If you are planning on picking up an OG Xbox, I would highly recommend getting your console modded, specifically getting the factory BIOS flashed with a custom one. The main reason for this is that every original Xbox is a ticking time bomb. By default the hard drive is locked to that specific console, and once that hard drive fails, the Xbox in question is practically bricked. Considering the fact some of these machines are pushing 17 years old, it's something everyone should look into. The second reason to get your BIOS flashed is it allows you to easily upgrade your tiny 8GB drive to something much bigger, and with a custom dashboard you can copy your disc games to said drive. If that wasn't already cool enough, you can also transfer games to your Xbox over your network, which allows you to play early builds of games such as the Halo 2 multiplayer alpha, which I'm playing right now, online using Xlink Kai. Pretty damn cool, I must say. Most games on a PlayStation 2 only supported 480i, which these days doesn't really look that great. What's cool about the Xbox is that most titles supported 480p. Some games even supported 720p HD, and in some rare cases, 1080i. However, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes when you try to run a PAL region game on an NTSC Xbox, it won't boot at all. And in some cases, it will boot, but it might do weird stuff. Like this. Yeah, there's also more subtle problems that aren't always immediately obvious. Some PAL region games like Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex will boot and display fine and even run in 480p, but the game is not designed to run at anything greater than 50 frames per second. But on an NTSC console, it's forced to run at 60 frames per second, causing the game's logic to run 20% faster, which unsurprisingly breaks the game. Another challenge with 6th gen consoles is connecting them up to modern displays. A lot of modern TVs these days come with HDMI only, which the 6th gen doesn't support. So you're going to have to use an adapter, and currently the best and frankly only solution on the market is the Pound HD Link HDMI, and they've just released their second revision of the cable, which I'm using to capture footage with in this video. The one saving grace of the Pound HD Link is that it only costs $30. Yet given the choice, I would prefer to spend a little bit more to get something that's built to last, as it's your typical cheap Chinese electronics. Now you might be thinking, hold up, the PlayStation 2 has a bunch of killer exclusives, what if I wanted to play those? In response to that, I would say the best way to enjoy PS2 games today would actually be to buy a backwards compatible PlayStation 3. I made a video about this topic which I'll leave a link to in the top right hand corner right about now. Switching gears back to the current state of gaming, myself and a lot of other gamers are feeling a real fatigue with the titles that are on offer these days. There's just not much that excites me anymore. Pretty much all modern major titles, when you boil them down to their core gameplay, are essentially the same games as their 6th gen counterparts, except these days they are more focused on telling a story than driving gameplay, for fear of being too gamey. It's not that modern gaming is bad. The upcoming Hitman 2 and Insurgency Soundstorm are looking pretty great. It's just that the ratio of good games, let alone revolutionary ones, is significantly lower than it was 15 years ago. If you are around to experience those times yet believe that today's gaming is just as good as back then, if not better, in return I would have to ask the name of the substance you've been smoking. And can I have some? The 6th gen is currently in that period where it's retro, but not retro cool. At least yet. Right now it's currently the cheapest form of gaming on the market, but as with what is already starting to happen with the PS1 games, the 6th gen is the next on the list for the incoming price hikes. Something else to bear in mind is that every time Microsoft adds an OG Xbox game to back compat for Xbox One, that game's value soars. So if you're thinking about buying 6th gen, now is the time to do it. At least before the normies figure out how good these games are.